Okay, the timer's about to go off in about 5 minutes. We're gonna see what it looks like. Hope for good results. All right, the timer's about to go off here any minute now, and we're gonna check to see how our bread's doing. That's what it looked like at this point. A little pale still. So as you can see, the bread's still a little bit pale. I like it to be quite a bit darker than that on the crust. But those score marks that we made, it opened up quite a bit, which indicates that it had a pretty good rise. I went ahead and left the lid off so that it could brown up some and put it back in for 10 more minutes at 450. Realistically, I could turn off the oven now. It's plenty hot and it'll stay hot plenty long to finish baking. So maybe I'll just do that. Certainly don't have to. But we'll check back in 10 minutes. So some of you might be feeling a little daunted by this bread making process. It's pretty simple, I think, but maybe you think that I used a lot of special equipment, or I've got so much experience that it's just easy for me to do this kind of thing without measurement. But I want to assure you, it's a matter of just getting out there and doing it. I didn't really have anybody teach me to do it. I figured most of the stuff out on my own. I've read books, I've read recipes, and most of them are overly complicated in my opinion. I've tried them, they turned out okay. I really think the way I'm doing it now turns out better than most of the recipes I've seen in books. But you know, there's so many things that you can or can't do. It's your choice. You don't need the fire bricks in the oven. You don't even need the cast iron pot. You don't need the grain mill. You don't need the proofing baskets. You can use just regular flour. You can knead it by hand. You don't need the big mixer. You can bake it in just any old loaf pan and in a regular oven. If you use commercial flour, which I would assume most of you will, you'll still get a great bread. It'll already have that barley in it. You can use as much caraway or as little as you want. I guess what I'm saying is, just get out there and try it. You've got very little to lose, and maybe your first one won't turn out right. Maybe you'll let it overproof and it'll collapse in on itself, or you know, who knows? Things can go wrong, but it's a small risk. It may turn out great, but if you don't succeed the first time, try it again. After a couple times, you'll get the hang of it, and there's really nothing to be afraid of. It's fun. So I hope I've encouraged you to try it. You don't need fancy recipes. Sourdough is not complicated. Sourdough is not magic. It's just a natural process, which if you let it go in the right conditions, it's going to do its thing. And so I hope you have the courage to try it. And I hope you have fun with it. Well, there goes the timer. Let's go see what we got after 10 minutes here. Well, as you can see, it's acquired a pretty nice color in that extra 10 minutes. It's more of a caramel brown now. I'm going to let it go for another 5. I like to see just kind of the edges of the score marks maybe turn even slightly black. It's not burnt, it's caramelized. And we're not quite there yet, but it won't take long. So we'll check back in here in 5 minutes. Well, there's our timer. Let's go see what we got. Okay. Can you see this? See how it's almost turned almost black here along the edges? You can see that white pattern from the flour that was in the proofing basket. You can see the split here where we scored it and it raised and expanded. I say we're done. So let's turn her out of the pot. Again, trick here is not to get burnt. So you see how easily that came out of the pot. This is the underside. You can hear that hollow sound. That's a good indication it's done inside. Back over. Now at this point, what I usually do is I'll take my spritzer of water and I'll spritz it down. That does a couple things. One is it helps it cool. The other thing is that actually, and I don't know the reason for this, but when you spray it with water, the crust actually darkens a little bit more. And it kind of toughens up that crust a little bit, but makes it flexible. And you can actually, if you want to, you can get it wet and you can rub it with your hand. And that'll put a little shine on it. I don't generally rub it down, but we'll go ahead and spritz it. You see the steam coming off of that? Hopefully you can see that. Let's see, zoom in a little closer. Yeah, it's steaming hot. I wish you could smell the house right now. I don't know what heaven's gonna smell like, but it's gotta be something close to this. Just the toasted, caramelized wheat and rye with a hint of onion, a little bit of caraway. The smell of fresh baked bread just can't be beat. So that water is soaking in a little bit, it's evaporating a little bit. And it just smells delicious. So here comes the hard part. Now, the temptation is to cut into this and eat a slice, but I'm going to strongly advise you against that. This needs to sit here and cool for at least an hour before you cut into it. The middle of this bread right now is gelatinous in consistency. As it cools, it will solidify into that fine lacy network of cells that we associate with bread. And if you cut into it now, it's gonna seem doughy. You don't want that. It'll ruin your loaf. So after putting this work into it, exercise your willpower. Don't cut into it for at least an hour. So this baked 45 minutes, which we figured 40 to 45 minutes. That's about what it took. It could have gone another 5 minutes longer. It wouldn't have hurt it any. Or we could have taken it out 5 minutes earlier. That wouldn't have hurt anything either. So we'll go ahead and call this one a success. And thanks for watching. I hope you try your own.